Hey there guys, earlier today I did a video on the day 1 bosses of Dark Visions number 11, and overall, I got perfect score, but I had just had some bad pulls, and I just pulled another duplicate Yoshikiri on my Neo Visions guaranteed pull, and I was a little irritated. So I didn't really put a ton of effort into this video. So we're gonna it's been when I have bad pulls, I get irritated, and then I get over it an hour later. I'm already over it. Bad pulls happen in gacha games. You have to be able to accept that. I do. I'm over it. So we're gonna go back to Dark Visions, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a more a better video for this first day, and I'm gonna be explaining a little bit of some of my my teams and the way I do things. I'm also going to be talking about Lumina, who is a free unit that you don't want to miss out on. We're going to start on the physical area before the mage fight. So we're only going to show the second boss. The first boss, everything that applies to the second boss also applies to the first boss. It's just weaker. So yeah, so for the first boss, do the exact same thing. You'll get the same score. So we're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing 2 clears in the sky. We're going to be doing a updated version of the really powerful lazy mode clear for those of you that have the units and the gear to do this. And then we're going to be going back for a budget run that uses a little bit cheaper gear and all that. Cheaper gear, cheaper units, and that kind of stuff, and showing how we can get this done. So first of all, I want to talk about Lumina. Lumina is a free unit from the current Mog King, and it turns out the skills of her are all available at level 101. I thought it was level 120 to use her good skills, so I didn't use her this morning. Turns out all her good skills are available right away at level 101, so you don't even have to level her if you don't want to. I'll level her eventually, but yeah. So she has 2 skills that make her really good in Dark Visions. First of all, we've got How Long Before You Wake Up. This is just a plain old attack and magic buff by 300%. I mean, not much more to say than that. She just provides the 300% attack and magic buff. More importantly, though, she has this new skill called You Don't Think I'm Cruel. This is a really overloaded skill. This does a lot of stuff you really want in Dark Visions for these turn 1 OTK setups. First of all, it is a 150 AoE LB damage buff. This is basically the same power as Yoshikiri's one-use Magnus. It does last multiple turns. It's not really going to be relevant for what we're doing here, but it's going to be a 150 LB damage buff for the party. Also, it's an AoE 30 LB crystal fill, which is good as well. So she provides on turn 1 the 150 LB buff, the 30 crystal fill, and the 300 attack and magic buff. So in my previous OTK teams, I was using Neo Visions Adele and Neo Visions Yoshi to do both of those jobs. Lumina does it all by herself. Now one catch is it also damages your own team by 8,000 fixed damage. So make sure your entire party has 8,000 or more HP. Vaughn, for example, does not if he's naked, so I had to give him an HP materia. So that LB fill on Lasso Reagan. Now for Tifa and all, it fills them to the max right away. Lasso Reagan, we're going to be using him as our one-hit finisher for these lazy mode physical stages. His LB cost 46 crystals. We're only going to fill 30 of it from Lumina. You need to fill the other 16 some other way. So we're going to be using the Dragon's Brush. This is a limited time item, but currently the Boss Rush, which is where it comes from, is available. I highly recommend every single player, even if you're just being lazy with the game right now, do not miss on this item. This is a very powerful item and sort of unique in what it does. It fills your LB gauge by 7 at the start of the turn. So that is like Call of the Wild, which allows you to fill LB gauge. It comes from the easy mode of Boss Rush. Do not miss it. At the end of the week, it'll be gone forever. Please don't miss this. So that's going to be 7 more crystals. We're also using Call of the Wild. That's the 8 crystals. This is a permanent source from the cat trial. Everyone should have this by now. And that's going to give us 7 and 8 is 15, plus 30 is the 45. We're still going to be 1 crystal short. That's where advanced weaponry comes in. This is the TMR of Agent Olive. It gives between 1 and 3 crystals at the start of the turn randomly. And all we need is 1 because we're going to be at 45 out of 46. This gives us the remaining to get guaranteed full LB on last gen on turn 1. Hopefully you've pulled at least 1 Agent Olive by now. I've pulled her so many times. Hopefully y'all pulled her at least once. That's going to give him his LB at the start of the turn. I also like equipping auto amplify items on my DPS on the base form. So for fire or light stages, this would be a damage boost. For other stages, it wouldn't do anything. It's just like, this is just my permanent loadout. And then other than that, I said this is base. And then his shift form is just geared for LB damage. This is my generalized build that I will be adjusting boss to boss. But this is the 2-slot open build that has 2 slots open, but he's maxed on everything. He's got maxed LB and maxed attack, maxed true dual wield, with 2 slots open, and then I would adjust this depending on the boss. Another person on the team is going to be Vaughn. This is my breaker. Now, he has, his LB is an 85 break and a 130 fire imperil. So for fire teams, he's obviously probably the best choice. For other fights, he's just whatever. But the nice thing is his LB imperils before dealing damage, which means by giving him a fire weapon, it also adds +1 to that weakness damage score. That's one of the trickier ones with these OTK setups. You got to do the weakness damage, which means you got to do 6 unique attacks. So by giving him a fire weapon, that gives him +1 to the weakness score, and that'll work even when we go off element to, like, let's say an ice stage and we're using ice damage. Because Vaughn's LB imperils first, it brings the boss below 100% fire resist, which means fire damage will count for weakness. We're also going to be using 2 support chainers that can get to 100-point chain score. Double AR is the most efficient way. That's unfortunately also very hard to chain. So if you're good at chaining, or if you have other ways to chain, like auto clickers or something, double AR is just easy, and so many units can do double AR. One of the easier ways to chain by hand is AR plus double SR, Aurora Ray and then double Stardust Ray. Some of the units that can do this, I like using Zon and Lumina. It's just, whatever, they're easy to do. Other units that have this are Onion Refia, Neovision's Awakening Shadow, Neovision's Base, Onion Knight. There's some other units too. I looked at a list earlier before I did this, that I already forgot. I didn't write it down. I already forgot who it was. Who else was it? I forgot who else did it. Levinson, maybe not. I don't remember. Some other units do it too, but those are some of the common units that do it. But anyway, they are going to be just wearing a fire weapon to chain. He's built Passive Provoke for bosses that ambush. Ambushing Dark Vision bosses are basically non-existent anymore, so that's actually not important. And then Elena, same thing, fire weapon. And these fire weapons, because of Vaughn's imperil, will always hit weakness. So there we go. And that's the team. And the last slot is someone to imbue your unit. We're going to be using Neovision's, not Neovision. We're going to be using Ignacio, because he's an easy fire imbue. But someone to imbue fire, doesn't really matter who. You want someone in that last slot to imbue the element to the fight you're going to be doing. So we're going to be doing fire, which is Ignacio, if I can find him. There he is. And there we go. And then you want to adjust your killers when you go to a boss. So we're going to go ahead and swap out to Beast Killer on my last Reagan. Now I'm going to be using good gear. The cheap run's going to come in a moment, but we're going to do a better clear than my first run today. My first run today. That's Magical Killer. We don't want Magical Killer. We want Physical Killer. My first run today on Last Wall Reagan, I actually forgot to I forgot. What am I doing? I forgot to equip a vision card on him. So he had no vision card today, so his damage was a lot worse. But this is going to be the build we're going to use. We're going to be doing it with 275 Beast Killer. So let's go in here and get a quick clear using Lumina and all that. Alright, so Lumina to start. Oh! I didn't gear Ignacio. He's going to be. Oh! Even while naked, Ignacio's got more than 8k hit points. What a thick tank. Alright, anyway, so we're going to do You Don't Think I'm Cruel. So make sure your team has 8,000 or more HP. And then we're going to do How Long Before You Wake Up on Last Wall Reagan. So as you see, his LB is now good to go right away on turn 1. So we're going to do this. We're going to imbue him with fire. And then we're going to LB with Vaughn. And then we're going to... Now you would either do like double or triple AR, or you would do AR and then SR, SR. And then Elena, same thing. You would either, triple AR, double AR, or AR, SR, SR. You just need to get that chain count above 100. So we're going to wait for Vaughn to finish. Don't want to break the chain. All right, we're gonna go ahead and chain, and then we're gonna cap that chain. And there we go. We did 7.6 billion damage. We did like 3.5 times higher than the damage cap right away on turn 1. So yeah, so this morning, I was irritated. I didn't put a lot of effort in. But when you actually take the time to gear your team properly, you can turn 1 this and super destroy it. Now, of course, that was very powerful gear, very powerful units. We're going to do a budget run in a second for those of you that don't have that good of options. So let me adjust the team real quick, and we'll be back in just a moment. Alright guys, we're going to be going back to the squirrel guy for a budget run. I just tried him, and apparently he has an attack that ignores cover, so I'm adjusting, so, you know, I'm figuring out this boss beyond turn 1, so the rest of you don't have to. Anyway, this is going to be the budget run we're going to use. We're going to be doing all 7-star or below units with the exception of Edgar, who is Neovision's Awakening. He's a pretty cheap unit, hopefully you have him. If you don't have him, he is, to be fair, probably the strongest Neovision's Awakening unit around in terms of burst damage. So if you don't have him, you could swap out some of these units for like actual DPS units. Like, you know, you could bring Tifa, you could bring your best Neovision's units, etc. Just bring some DPS units. Overall, this guy's not too bulky as long as you build a proper team. But we're going to be using this team to do it. So the guy does magical, water, and ice damage. Single target physical damage, and on turn 3 he uses an attack that bypasses cover, which I learned the hard way. Because we're using Edgar, he can't burst until turn 4. We have to go to turn 4, so we need to gear for that turn 3 attack. If you're killing him before turn 3, you can disregard that part of the strategy. But here we go. So one more thing we're going to be doing is for the chain count score, we're going to be using Flood Espers to get the chain count score. Now again, if you have other ways to get the chain count score, like, you know, dual wield AR, the SR trick, etc., that's fine. But we're going to be using Flood for like the most budget way possible to get chains in. So Bosch is on Leviathan, and then Kenny Crow is on Kokuryu for Flood chaining. The last thing we're going to need, because we're going to turn 4, we're going to need a water and ice resist buff. So Lumina is on Carbuncle for ice resist, and then Bosch is on Leviathan for water resist. Make sure your Espers have those learned. If they don't, get a source of resist from some other way. So Bosch is going to be the magical cover tank. Even though the boss, we're gearing for resist, Edgar is not gearing for resist. So we're going to use Bosch so Edgar can go for just pure DPS. He is wearing 150 or better to ice and water. And he's dual wielding a fire weapon on a Flood Esper, as I mentioned. So there, his setup, he's going to be the magical cover. Kenny Crow is our full evasion passive provoke tank. He's chosen because he is a budget passive provoker. He's got 100 passive provoke by default in his kit. If you don't have the Moogle Charm, he's a great choice. If you do have the Moogle Charm, then you can make anyone you want passive provoke with that and like the producer's jacket and all that. But he's going to be our full evasion passive provoke, and we gave him, make sure your team has 8,000 or better HP, because we are going to be using Lumina again. So we need 8,000 or better HP in everyone, so make sure that happens. And we geared him for some ice and water resist as well. King Edgar, base form is just using Call of the Wild. That is important. Shift form is geared for jump damage and beast killer, double spear for his own imperil. And as you see, he's not wearing any resist gear, which is the reason we're bringing Bosch to cover. He's got 250 beast, 650 jump, and just all cheap gear. This is very accessible. Hopefully you've got, you know, all this. And I am using Neovision base cards. Hopefully you have a attack power card of your own. You don't need to use this one specifically. Just use the best card you have. A really good option if you own it is Laswell Reagan's card. But I mean, if you have Laswell Reagan's card, you've got Laswell Reagan, so why aren't you using them? I guess it's kind of a weird thing to say. But it is a good card for them. Just use the best card you've got for Edgar. Mastermind Zon is going to be using a fire weapon and single wielding, so we can use his AR single wield for the chain count, which is easy to do. Other than that, not really important. 20 or better to ice and water resist. And make sure he's got 8k or better HP, so I gave him his TMR because that gives him enough HP, because he's got less than 8k otherwise. There we go. Vaughn, same thing. Single wielding a fire weapon. Little bit of resist, 20 or better to ice and water. We did get the green magic update, so resist buffs are now 80%, so all we need is 20 from gear. And make sure his HP is above 8k. Lumina is going to be our, on turn 1, she's going to fill LB gauge. On turn 2, she's going to do a fire imbue. On turn 3, she's going to do a resist buff from Carbuncle. Other than that, she's got 20 or better to water and ice. And the secret book is our source of fire imbues. We're going to steal that with Zahn and spread it. Okay, let's get in here. So this guy had a nasty surprise for me on turn 3, but now we're adjusted. Okay, so right away on turn 1, Lumina we're going to dual cast. Same thing she did before. She's going to fill LB gauge. And we're going to do How Long Before You Wake Up on Edgar. Edgar is now going to shift, and we're going to do his shifted LB. And then the damage we took is from Lumina. As long as you've got 8,000 or better, you're fine. Mastermind Zahn will critical mirror off of Edgar to copy the attack buff that Lumina gave, so we can refresh it later. We don't need anything from Edgar, from Kenny or Vaughn this first turn, and then Bosch will magical cover. That's going to protect Edgar because he's not using the resist gear. So some water and ice attacks, whatever. Alright, Edgar's going to go ahead and jump. We're going to imbue fire with Lumina. Wait for Edgar to finish. Alright, now we're going to single cast AR with Zahn and Vaughn. So AR single cast. And then Bosch is going to dual wield a Flood Chain with Kenny Crow from the Espers. And these are double AR. AR twice is 60, Flood twice is 48. Combined, the two of them go over 100, so send your AR chainers, send your Flood chainers, and then the chains will combine and go over 100, and chain count score is now done. Okay, some more attacks, and the boss is going to power up, and this power up attack that he's charging is going to ignore cover, as I realized a moment ago. So now we're going to do a water resist buff from Leviathan. And like I mentioned, these green magic buffs, the high level ones, are now 80% resist. It's a really nice update. So we're going to green magic buff. Lumina is going to, from Carbuncle, ice resist buff. Barb Lazara. And then Kenny can just guard. Vaughn's going to do his LB to break the boss and imperil fire. And then Zahn is going to, let's see, we're going to just double up. We're going to Elemental Mirror off of Lumina to steal that fire imbue. And we're going to spread that to Edgar in the air. Here we go. So one of these attacks bypasses cover. There you go. But the whole team is immune. And now we're imperiled on turn 3, but we're going to finish off the boss, so we don't really care. So we're just going to go ahead and AR chain single wielded, and we're going to cap that chain with our Edgar. And that is the budget run of this boss. We've done all the missions at this point. I didn't see how much damage Edgar did, but it should have been a lot. Oh my god, Edgar almost damage capped. So yeah, Edgar was extraordinarily high overkill. But there is the budget way to do it. And if you don't have Edgar, I mean Tifa is going to very easily do this with crashing the game. So that's cool. So the game crashed. That's unfortunate. Let me reload the game and we'll get back into it. Be back in a second. Alright guys, we're back. Not entirely sure why the game crashed right there, but you know, it's a new patch, a little bit unstable. Anyway, we're now going to go to the magical fight. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So I will show you real quick the updated Terra version of my. We're not going to actually do this because there's no point really. But this is going to be my updated version of the Terra lazy mode OTK. For turn 1, we've dropped Adele and we've dropped Yoshikiri. And again, we have used Lumina for the Terra team. Same thing. She's going to be doing her LB fill, LB buff. I'm sorry, yeah, her LB fill, LB buff, and her magic buff on Terra. Terra is using Call of the Wild and Paintbrush. You don't actually need the Paintbrush because Terra's LB only costs 36. It doesn't actually show it there. It only costs 36, so Lumina plus Call of the Wild maxes her out. But her base form, I gave her the Brumal cores for the Amplify. Again, that's optional, whatever. But shift form is just very, very generic Terra. Nothing really special here. It's just Terra. Make sure she's using a card. Yeah, the cards get unequipped now when you do party changes, which is super irritating. They didn't fix that from JP, but yeah. So there we go. And then the rest of the team is going to be, again, the same as the physical team. Zahn and Elena are going to be the chainers for Terra to cap. Vaughn is the LB breaker and imperil. And that's pretty much all you need. This technically leaves an empty party slot because there's no killers or anything that matter for Terra. So you can fill this empty party slot with another finisher. So Ibarra starts the fight with her LB good to go maximum, so we don't really need anything in the base form. And shift form, she can just jump in the chain and do extra capping damage. Give her a card because that's so irritating. Yeah, her LB is it imperils and magic buffs before damage. So she's really self-sufficient. So she'll imperil for herself. She'll magic buff for herself. She'll get an LB buff from Lumina. And yeah, so this option can do less damage than Terra, but I mean it's an empty party slot. It just gives you bonus damage for fights where Terra maybe doesn't fully cap by herself, like the final mage boss, etc. But we're not going to use this team on this fight. We're going to go straight to an actual budget run. Let's go ahead and load this up. Not the Terra OTK. No, we're loading Area 1. All right, this is going to be the budget run. This is obviously much more expensive than the run we just did. We're using lots of Neovision bases. I'm sorry, not lots of Neovision's Awakenings, including one Neovision's base. That's because magical fights are just harder to budget run. You kind of need to rely on some better DPS. I'm not entirely sure how bulky this guy is. It very well could have been done with just like maybe Kuja, Rem, and Ace and all that. I don't know. But we do have a Mogling to farm. I need to get to farming. I'm not gonna dump a ton of energy on this. So we're gonna do a cheap clear with a bunch of whatever holy mages. So we're gonna be using Kryla to imperil and break and all that. We just gave her some mana regen, you know, whatever. This boss, by the way, does physical damage. The boss does physical, dark, and earth damage, but we're gonna just use evasion cover. So we don't really care about the elements. So we're just gonna use Sabin to cover the physical damage with evasion. Eurasia is here literally just for Dragon Killer. It's all that really matters. It's optional to even bring her. Kuja is going to be a chainer. He's going to be just, you know, holy chaining. We got a bunch of holy chainers on the team. He's got Dragon. 200 Dragon Killer, 3,500 magic. Summerfolk and Citra are going to shift on turn 1. They're going to be a spirit damage dealer. They've got 3,600 spirit. There's their gear. We're not using any STMRs at all, except for the unit's own for a Neovision's Awakening. She's got 125 Dragon Killer, a little bit low, but you know, whatever. Aerith, we're using Dragon Killer and Magic. I can't talk today, but here you go. 275 Dragon Killer. She's going to be our primary DPS for obvious reasons. Sabin, full evasion in the base form. He's going to be physical covering on turn 1. Turn 2, he's going to shift and do some chaining. He's got 4,500 magic and 125 Dragon Killer, and then that's it. That's the party. Okay, so we're going to kill this guy on turn 2, you know, super easy. We're just going to power up on turn 1, kill on turn 2. So, let's see here. Let's have Kuja is going to triple. We're going to start off with Crusade, and then do Soul Splitter and Overture. Sabin is just going to physical cover. Aerith is going to shift, and we're going to do... I've never used her as a mage. I know we have to do Arcane Ward, her Magnus, and I think that's all that matters for her, so we'll just do something so we don't hit the boss. Summerfolk and Citra, we're going to shift on turn 1, and we're going to do her power-ups. I haven't used her as a mage very, very much at all, so what did we have to do with her? No. We don't need to do Imperil. We don't need to Charm. I think she just does this on turn 1. Kryla is going to do her Magnus to break the boss. Eurasia is just going to do... we'll do a stat buff with Eurasia as well. I don't know if these mages all have their own stat buff. So we're going to stat buff, and we're going to do anti-dragon stratagem. Alright, so we should be covering the physical damage with Sabin. And we're going to kill on turn 2. Alright, so I know Aerith has her own Amplify. So we're going to shift Kryla. We're going to do double Amplify, and then we're going to do a break. So we're going to Amplify Light on Silka, Amplify Light on Kuja, and Elemental Wrath to break the boss. To imperil the boss, I'm sorry, to 130. Duration, not going to do anything. Alright, Kuja is going to Holy, Angelic... Oh, did I not do Quadcast? Holy, Angelic Crusade. Summer, Folka, and Citra are going to Quadcast Light. Aerith, Quadcast Light, that's the wrong one. Aerith, Quadcast, her light skill. And this is all going to be Chaos Wave Awaken. It's going to go over 100 because of 4 Chaos Wave Awaken chainers. If you're not using 4 Chaos Wave Awaken chainers that are all single target, then you want to use some way to boost the chain count score. You can go longer. There's no reason to kill this guy on turn 2, but we're going to. So chain everyone, and that should be over 100 chain score. It's all single target, so it won't stop early. And hopefully this is over 2.14. Let's see. We use no STMRs. Oh, 6.7. Yeah, so we heavy overkilled. You do not need that much power to do this guy. Hopefully the game doesn't crash again. Hey, there we go. No crashes. Okay, perfect score. So there we go. Apologies again for this morning and me being kind of in a you know, little bit of a pissy mood, but I'm over it. We're good. Okay, so on Saturday, we've got Area 2. We'll be doing some more clears. We'll be doing some quick clears on Saturday, as well as some more budget runs on Saturday. And then maybe tomorrow we'll do some stuff with the new units we came out on Global, like Lightning, Savior Lightning, Radiant Lightning, and Old Lightning. Lots of lightning. All right. See you guys next time.